Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Okay, I'm wearing this cap, Southeastern Louisiana Lions, and this shirt, Lions Athletics. I was at the baseball game last night, packed house. The game sold out in 20 minutes. College baseball is big down in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas. Other states, not so much. But it was Louisiana State University at Southeastern, LSU at Southeastern Louisiana. And Southeastern beat them 5-4, so it was very exciting. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Take that off. Thought that was muted already. Anyway, we've got Barton American whiskey. Okay. Introduced in 1949. Check something real fast. Versus Heaven Hill, Kentucky whiskey. Mild and mellow, blended whiskey. Okay. This is Heaven Hill's #1 Kentucky blend. So it says Kentucky blend whiskey. Oh, blended. I'm sorry, I couldn't. It's so tiny. Heaven Hill's #1 Kentucky blended whiskey. Okay, it must be because it's everywhere around here. They're both blended at an 80-20 ratio, 80% corn distillate, grain neutral spirits, and 20% straight whiskey. Now this one is sour mash whiskey put in there, okay? And it's aged 3 years. The sour mash straight whiskey is aged 3 years. I mean, it's probably Heaven Hill bourbon, right? The Whiskey Scout says, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you. And I want to tell you something. I have not watched any of your taste challenges, with the blind Scotch taste challenges with the inexpensive blended Scotch. The reason is most of those I have not tried. So I can't, you know what I mean? I couldn't relate. I would not be able to relate to those taste-wise. But once I do try all those, and I do plan to try Inverhouse, J.W. Dant, Cuddy Sark and all that, then I'll be able to watch them, and then I can relate and say, oh, right, I noticed that too about J.W. Dant, etc. So I usually never watch videos for stuff I haven't tried because then I honestly, I just cannot relate to it except from just watching it. But I do intend to watch those over time. And I think it's a very interesting thing you're doing. So I've got these two. Is there going to be a big difference? I don't think so, but now take this into consideration. Drinking the rest of this coffee. Cafe Bustelo. I bought the whole beans and I ground them in my grinder. They're okay, or it's okay. It's owned by Folgers. Folgers bought Cafe Bustelo. I know it's very popular in Hispanic community, like Caribbean Hispanic community, but I don't know. To me, it's kind of dull, kind of bland. And I think the Walmart Great Value is more flavorful than this. And that medium roast Walmart Great Value isn't exactly bursting with flavor. I just buy it because it's $8.48 for this huge container. You know how expensive coffee has gotten. The Whiskey Scout says, thank you. It's fine. It's fun. Yeah, I know that's why I do these. They're fun to me. Now, if people don't want to watch, I can understand because you got to be interested in it, right? Like some people do video game videos where they're playing a video game and people watch it. I mean, I wouldn't watch that because I don't care about video games, right? So why would I watch something I don't care about? I do like to watch taste challenges, so obviously I watch them. You were not concerned that the coffee will influence the taste challenges? No, not really, because like I said, that coffee is so mild, it's almost more watery than coffee. Like, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's And I used a lot of coffee in the mix. And these have enough flavor to overpower it. Plus, it's the same. It's coffee to Barton and coffee to Heaven Hill. You know what I'm saying? It's the same. But I can go take a little, you know, sip of water if you'd like. The kitchen's right next door. We can do that. Hold on. All right, for viewer satisfaction, I did that, but I don't think it would have made any difference, really. Okay, I got to get going. I got some things to do today. Not a lot of big things, but a bunch of little things, and then I'll not get them done. I think the fact that one is sour mash and the other one isn't could influence it, and I think the aging will influence it. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to make much difference. Okay, so Heaven Hill over here. Barton here. Now, the price is basically the same. The Heaven Hill is 20 cents more per bottle from what I've been able to find. So and if you shop around, it might cross over. Like you might find one cheaper there, one cheaper somewhere else. But in generally, you're not going to find the Barton unless you're in Kentucky, in which case you'll probably see it at every liquor outlet. It's sort of like the common cheap whiskey of Kentucky, right? Like you just see it everywhere. Whereas here in the New Orleans area, Heaven Hill is the common one. Big jug bottles, you know, the handle bottles, the standard, or the liter, the standard, the 375, everywhere, you know, it's everybody sells it. You go to the Baton Rouge, Florida parishes, Baton Rouge, Hammond, Slidell, then it's T.W. Samuels, even down over far east at St. James Parish, T.W. Samuels. So it's like Heaven Hill decided, well, either them or the distributor decided, more likely the distributor decided Heaven Hill will do better or seems to do better in this area and the T.W. Samuels in the other areas. So that's where they do it. Put them. I even went to Chalmette, which is, you don't want to drive there. I mean, it's a nice place, but it takes forever to get over there from here. And they even had the McCormick. Okay, they're both the same color. You can see that. Just that typical pale amber. Robert says, is the Heaven Hill a blend? Yes. There's a good video on YouTube. It's about an hour long. I was playing it while I was folding clothes or something. It's about their distillery operations. And there's a guy that, like their distillery master or their one of their operations managers. I don't remember exactly what he does, but something like that. And they were going around and they were talking about the history of Heaven Hill and how the Beam family always did their distilling, the Beam family. So it wasn't a Beam, but it was somebody that works for them. And then they were going on and talking about their barrel aging. The distilling is pretty standard, like, you know, they make whiskey, you know, all right. So then the man was saying, and they were talking about how the level in the barrel house makes a difference, the heat, humidity, all these things. And so the interviewer says, well, what about these whiskeys? They were talking about high up on the high floors. Now you see, if you go to Jack Daniels, they're saying that the high floors are the best whiskeys. That's the way they see it. The ones that are way in the extreme heat. The man said that's the ones they pick for their single barrel. Now, it kind of caught me off guard because the Heaven Hill was saying, oh yeah, those are the ones we use. And the guy said, oh, well, we use those in our blended whiskeys. Then he busted out laughing, kind of embarrassed, but like, you know what I mean? Heaven Hill did not disclaim their blended whiskeys, and they make a huge amount of brands. But I guess he was sort of like kind of embarrassed in a way because they were trying to really say, yeah, you need to get Elijah Craig and all these more elevated products, you know, or this Heaven Hill Bonded. But then he had to admit that obviously a big part of their sales was the blended stuff. It was just kind of funny to watch that. The Whiskey Scout, and it wasn't a Heaven Hill production. It was somebody that has a whiskey channel that was interviewing them. Yeah, you know who I think it was? I think it was whiskey.com. You know, the German guys? I think that's who it was. McCormick is the only one you mentioned that I have seen around here, says the Whiskey Scout. Yeah, and me and William Kepley and I thought that was the best of the blended so far. Something about McCormick is a little better. They don't distill it. You know they're getting it from Midwest Grain Products, but somehow they blend it. It's a little better. I visited Heaven Hill back in the mid to late 70s, says Robert. That's good. I wanted to go, but I didn't like the way they don't really take you to the distillery. You get to go to some visitor center, you know, and you have that Heaven Hill experience. Same thing with not Jim Beam, but well, Jim Beam's kind of like that too. It's kind of like some tourist exhibit. But what's Evan Williams? Yeah, Evan Williams. You go to the Evan Williams experience. I don't want to go to some experience. I can experience that at my house, you know. I want to go see the actual operations, okay? If you think about very little blended whiskey is drank straight. Some people like a shot of blended. If you think, yeah, most people just mix it. But I was saying that in my last taste challenge. Most people buy expensive bourbon and then they'll mix it, make mixed drinks. It's like, why are you burying? You just paid $75 a bottle, but you're blending it with sugar and syrup and this and that fruit. And it's like, well, do a taste challenge. Is it going to be that different from what I have here? I don't know if it's going to be. You know, I was a manager with Maxwell. Says, hello, Ron. Glad to see you. How are you? I'm fine. I was a manager with one of their biggest wholesalers, so I got to see everything. Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to see the actual operations, not a showcase. And when I went to Genesee Brewery with Maria Devon, the girl next door, a former review partner, almost 2 years ago, we got to see the pilot brewery, which is like a little small thing. And they let us go down there. Well, they wouldn't let us go down on the floor because they were washing stuff and they didn't want people to slip. Makes sense. We talked to the man. I mean, it was nice, like a little craft brewery operation. I mean, it was a craft brewery operation. But I've seen those things before. I didn't really want to see that. I didn't care about that. I wanted to see the major operations. I wanted to go into Genesee Brew House, the big, huge thing, you know, and see that. But maybe they don't want you going in there. They said safety issues. That's baloney because I've been in other big distilleries and breweries where it was all of a sudden not a safety issue. Because they don't want you seeing, you know, they don't want you going in there and it's a craft brewery showcase and then you go into the main facility and you see them making dog bite. That's why. See what I mean? Most blend goes into whiskey sours. Manhattan's very little into highballs or drunk on the rocks. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're certainly right about that. I don't think there's too many people on earth doing taste challenges with blended whiskeys. In fact, do a video search, and I think I am the only one. Now, you might say you're the only one dumb enough to do it. No, okay, all right. To me, I'm not dumb. I just want to do it. I mean, it's not that people are compelled to watch these, right? Now, if you were forced to watch it, yeah, okay. I should be doing Four Roses and McKenna and all that. But, or Old Scout. But you're not forced to watch it, right? It's optional. All right, aroma. Do you guys have a Bourbon Supreme blended whiskey there in Louisiana? I never heard of it. It might be up there in Shreveport and Monroe. If you go to North Louisiana, the whole distribution is, it's like being in a different state. It's nothing the same. If you go to West Louisiana, Lafayette, Lake Charles. It's not too, it's very dissimilar to this area. I mean, you're going to have the, obviously you're going to have Jack Daniels everywhere, you know, J&B Scotch. Sky vodka, you know what I mean? Budweiser beer. But then you'll see odd things there that you won't see here, like Schlitz Gold Bull, the charcoal filtered Schlitz high gravity malt liquor. You never see that in Eastern Louisiana, and I've never seen it here. But in Western Louisiana, it's common. And my friend David with the big beard, he said that was the best common beer he ever tried. Like mass-produced product. Him and his female reviewing partner, they were going wild over it. It's too strong for me. I couldn't drink that on a regular basis. I'd be off the air soon. I'd be giving up beer. I just wouldn't. It's not like I would have medical problems. It's just I wouldn't like it. But for a treat, yeah, that thing is dynamite. But anyway, back to this. But I'm saying the whole point is the distribution is different around here. It might be that way in your state. I want to get to this because I want to get on these tasks that I want to do. Already, this one smells more sour mash, like, right? Like, now people say, oh, that doesn't make any difference in the taste and the aroma. Sour mash is just a priming process to get the whiskey started. I understand that. But however, if that's the case, fine. But why is it the case that I often will detect like corn, sourdough bread, right? Sourdough bread. So why am I detecting a different aroma when you're saying it's not different? You know, like rice. Budweiser uses rice. This one uses corn. Oh, rice makes no difference. It's a neutral object. You know what I mean? It has no flavor or aroma. It makes no difference. Well, yeah, but I can pick it up. It doesn't taste the same. And then people will make the claim, well, boiled rice has no flavor. Boiled rice does have flavor. What are you talking about? It doesn't have a profound flavor, but it has a flavor. Okay. So I'm definitely picking up some sourdough bread and some like little mustiness and spices. Oh, and by the way, when people say blended whiskey has no flavor, it's dull, it's nothing, that's wrong. It has flavor and aroma. It doesn't have a lot, but it has it. But you can't use a bull in a china shop approach. A bold $90 bottle of straight whiskey aged 10 years would work for a bull in a china shop, because it has to be in your face, you know, bam, bam, bam. And people have to go for the gusto in it. But these, you have to be a little more calm, you know, and really sip through it. I love Schlitz and Schlitz malt liquor always in the fridge. Good choices. The whiskey, says Robert, says that, and I'm saying good choice. The Whiskey Scout. Taste challenges us for those who are interested in those particular whiskeys. It is the start of a great palate building experience. I agree with that. This is like an exercise that you're just watching. You know, I'm doing it like a training session. Do I always succeed? No. There are some people out there that might claim they can always tell them apart. That's wonderful, and I'd be very proud of you for doing that. But I'm not seeing that. People can talk up a lot. They walk up and talk up. You are so. Okay, where's your videos? Oh, well, I don't do that. Okay. This one is minty in the nose, and that's wood spice. Okay, it's spicy and minty. I think that's got to be the Barton, you see. And this one, right? Barton, Sazerac, high rye. Get it? This one has that, but it's got that sourdough. And what do we know? Heaven Hill. That's kind of like one of their things. So, hey. But let's taste challenge it. Yeah, there's a little mint. There's a little rye spice. There's some alcohol. It's really not that strong alcohol taste. There's the flavor generally associated with whiskey as the U.S. government describes it. And I like that description because there has to be some common sense in this. And I have a few viewers that will call me out. What do you mean it just tastes like beer? Beer has a multitude of flavors, and you cannot say blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, here we go. You know, but the person making that big pronouncement, that monologue, they know what I'm talking about before they go on this spiel. I hope they know what I'm talking about, because you can't be that thick in the head that you don't understand what most Americans would commonly associate with the flavor of beer. And you know we're talking about macro lager. So it's like the person or the people that make these criticisms are playing stupid. You know, I don't know why they're doing that. I know they have chocolate stouts. I know they have extra special bitters, ESBs. I know all that. That is not a flavor people commonly associate with beer in the regular American mainstream audience. Okay, I know that, and you know that. When you say beer, they think in Budweiser or Miller High Life, or Miller High Life or Bud Light. You know that, and I know that. When you say whiskey, they're thinking of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something like that. They are not thinking of Four Roses Special Edition, aged 10 years that you paid $125 a bottle for. You know they're not thinking about that. But then you're going to go off on me and try to act like, I don't know. I don't even want to entertain it, because you're using a particular instance to associate with a generalized perception of things. And you could use that for anything. Like I say, well, it's like a regular old 1986 movie. What do you mean a regular old 1986 movie? Have you never seen Hannah and Her Sisters? That was a very in-depth. Okay, all right. No one watched that, okay, except me and you and a few other people in New York City. They watched Aliens and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, not Hannah and Her Sisters. But you knew that before you went off on me. All right. This is interesting. Sorry about the rant and rave of Ronald. You know how I do that. So beer flavor is lager. Oh, okay. I think Staunch Risk is I got what you're saying. Beer flavor is whatever you want it to be. Okay. There's like that. Well, they both have a corn-oriented flavor, because after all, let's think about it. They're both made almost completely with corn. Okay. Now, but this one has that sourdough bagel type thing, not exactly. Whiskey Scout says, you have to be careful with assumptions, Ron. It's made me scratch my head more than once with some of the comments I have gotten. We have to be very careful with assumptions, and I'm not assuming anything. I'm just saying that, you know what I'm saying? You don't use particulars to describe the general feeling about, you know, because I talk to most people, not most people. When I talk to people, they'll say to me, like, I don't like beer. And I'll usually ask them, what do you mean? Like, what beers have you tried? And they always say the same thing. They don't say, well, I tried, I tried this Doppelbock from Iceland, and I tried this Belgian ale from Martins. You know what I mean? They're going to tell me, well, I tried Bud Light and Coors and I hated it. You know, that it's that same. I said, but did you ever try any other kind of beers? Nah, they don't. Somebody told me that yesterday about whiskey. Oh, I hate whiskey. What whiskeys have you tried? I asked her. Jack Daniels, when she was a teenager at a wedding and they let her drink and she drank so much she puked and got sick. So based on that experience, she hates whiskey. I said, well, you know, you kind of gave yourself a funny introduction. Whiskey Scout says, I know what you're saying, though. Right. I'm not, but people get offended so easily. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to get it. I should have never brought it up, but I have to bring it up because that's what I'm thinking, you know? And remember, the goal is not to build my channel. It's just, this is me. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm drinking. Okay. Okay. It's not brand presentation over here in Louisiana Beer Reviews or the whiskey thing. It's not brand presentation. Somebody told me a week ago, I'm unsubscribing to your channel because you're too monotone in your speaking and you're depressing. And every time I watch your videos, I get depressed. To me, that was a very strange thing to say. But of course, that is your purview. You don't have to subscribe. I mean, I would never encourage someone. If you watch any of my videos, I've never actually literally never once asked anybody to do that. I thought it was odd that the person gave me, you know, like the reason to do it, which was unusual. But, you know, it's fine. It was just, I mean, I've unsubscribed to other beer channels, but I didn't give them a reason. I didn't even talk to them about it. I just stopped watching because I thought the videos were terrible. And that's only a handful of cases. But, you know, I just didn't want to watch it. Mr. Amazing said they sounded like a troll. I kind of suspected that that was something like that, that they were trying to elicit a response or trying to incite something. So I just kind of played along with it, you know. Like a lot of times I'll be, what people, you know, you probably picked up on that. Like my friend Paul says, you're being intentionally obtuse. Like you know what they're talking about, but you're using that little psychological game that you play where you say, oh, right. Oh, well. And I was going to make a video about that Southern culture, Southern cultural approach. You know, I never made the video because I thought it'd be too controversial, but a lot of people I know that are from north of the Ohio River, from up north, they'll tell me, I came down, they'll say, I love the South because the people are so friendly. They're just so friendly. Whereas in the North, you know, they're more reserved. Sometimes that's a little misperception of what's going on. And if you watch that movie, The Horse Soldiers, that was it, John Ford directed it, 1959. They kind of go into that, about that kind of unusual overt friendliness that a host will give in the South. Or at a restaurant, Southern restaurant, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana. And like they go into that in that movie, that a lot of the times that's a way of checking people out, or information gathering is what it's, a lot of times it's more to do with information gathering than actual hospitality. You know, all that what they call magnolia shade, all that, hi y'all, how you doing, honey? Where are you from? Now see, they're trying to get an angle on you because they want to watch what they say. You say that's bizarre, but that's the truth. They want to get an angle on you because they want to make sure they don't say the wrong thing in your presence. So they're trying to get, it's kind of like that movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, where Hal's asking all those leading questions, and then the pilot says, you're trying to work up my the crew's psychological profile, right? And Hal said, you got me, you know. I ought to make that video. It's very strange, you know, like my grandmother, she always was like that, you know, like, where's telling her about my friend's girlfriend, where's she from? I said, oh, that girl's from Ohio. My grandmother says, Ohio, a Yankee. That's not good. She said, that's not good. I'm saying, oh, okay. So you got to remember that a lot of that's trying to get an angle on people, snuff them out. Like Amy Winehouse said, you snuffed me out like Tanqueray. All right, I think that one's Barton, and I think this one is the Heaven Hill, but I'm not totally sure. But I believe that I'm on the right track. The Whiskey Scout says you are not monotone. Gary's whiskey reviews, he is monotone, but I still watch because there's nuggets of information there. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't care if people are monotone as long as what they're saying is interesting, you know. Well, let's reveal it. I got to go to Walmart. Barton American whiskey. Hey, 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 hey. Where you from, honey? Oh, what's your last name? Oh, that's a pretty name. Is that Italian? Oh, the people in the South. Believe me, I know. You say, how do you know? I grew up here. I know how people are. I wanted to make a video really called The South You See and the South You Know. Oh, I'm sorry. The South You See, comma, and the South I Know. That's what the video was going to be called. And I was going to talk about how there's like a duality here in the old Confederate States. In a way, it's like, I've had people like come, I talk to people on the internet and they're like, well, I've been down south on a road trip, and I talk to people around there and they're not like, wait, they're not like the stereotype. I tried to tell them, I said, you're from New Hampshire, and so you're not going to get the full presentation, believe me, okay? A lot of these people that are talking, you're putting on a show. Now, and you watch the show, you know, and you believe the show. That's the South you see, I was talking about. But you don't see the South I know. And it's a really bizarre thing. There's so many anecdotes, you know, I could tell you that would prove what I'm saying. Anecdotes. I mean, and it's so common. It's like an everyday, it's so common that it's done without any thought. But I try to like think about things and what people are saying, and it's the truth. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's get off of that. But so I got the taste challenge is correct this time. But I think the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to do one more with the Barton for now. I think what I want to do is Barton versus, and I think you'll agree with me that this is a legitimate comparison. I want to do Barton versus the 10 High blended whiskey. But it's blended bourbon. Okay, so it's a different animal. It's not the same style. Let me explain that real fast. Barton, okay, is a straight up stereotypical blended whiskey. 80-20 blend. That's the common thing. You see that everywhere. Heaven Hills, I'm getting it wrong. Sorry, I didn't even drink that much. I'll get it right. The 10 High, also from Sazerac, is a blended bourbon. That is a different class of liquor. Blended bourbon. You say blended bourbon, what the heck is that? Well, you know, Evan Williams, Jim Beam, Old Grandad, Old Crow, those are all straight bourbon whiskeys. Okay? They're aged at least 2 years. They're 51% corn. They're aged in new charred barrels, etc. Okay. But there's a type called blended bourbon. Okay. It has to be at least 51% straight bourbon, which falls under the guidelines I just discussed briefly. But it can be up to 49% grain neutral spirits or corn distillate or grain whiskey, whatever you want to call that stuff. Some people call it vodka. I don't actually go along with that. The U.S. government doesn't call it vodka. They look at vodka as a little different because it's about the filtering the filtration has to be different. But okay, you know, we understand what you're saying. So a blended bourbon, is a 51-49 ratio blended bourbon going to be that much different than an 80-20 blended whiskey, which is probably using bourbon for the straight whiskey? I don't think it's going to be profoundly different, if it's going to be even appreciably different. So that'll be the last one with the Barton. I have a feeling it's going to be and we're talking about the same price essentially. Well, retraction. Maybe I think the 10 high is about $3 more per bottle. But you know, this varies because I saw a Scotch yesterday, the 100 Pipers, that they had on sale for $8.99 at Matherne's. $8.99 for 100 Pipers Scotch, imported from Scotland. And then, you know, I bought that big pint, that big liter bottle of J.W. Dant Scotch for $8.99. So these things can vary. Like they say on those open-ended questions, answers will vary. So, but that would be the last one. The Heaven Hill, Barton blended whiskey, American blended whiskey versus 10 High, Kentucky, it's from Kentucky, blended whiskey. So that should be interesting, I believe. All right. Okay, let's look at the last comments. Then I'm getting off here. I'm going to Walmart, and then I'm going to start doing all these tasks. I think, Robert says, I think where you are from deeply affects what beer, wine, and liquor styles you like. Okay, I don't know if it deeply affects it, but I think it does affect it. It's the same thing with food, you know, and even people's thinking. You see, today we're supposed to be this monolithic America. Everybody thinks the same, and we have the same viewpoints. You can look at election results, which would tell you differently, especially look at a county map. Like, for instance, look at the 2016 presidential election. Look at it. Don't look at it by a popular vote, or look at it at a county, a map showing each county in the United States, and you'll see that people do not think the same. But anyway, Staunch Risk says, he's asking Robert, do you think that has something to do with local cuisines? Oh, yes, and immigration patterns and all that. I haven't had 100 Pipers in a couple of years, says the Whiskey Scout. I haven't had it ever in my life, but I've been having that bottle in my cabinet for 2 years. Okay, so that's the end of this. Very interesting. You say, oh, you did a long rant and rave. What is that? What is up with that? I understand. Hey, you know, when you're drinking whiskey, it kind of loosens your inhibitions. Don't blame me. Blame these producers, you know. Can't help us. 80 proof, man. 80 proof, man. All right, anyway, thanks for watching this video production. And so let's see, Saturday. That's the next one we're planning to do. Barton versus 10 High.